What's up, guys? Today's project is some updates that I'm doing on Stihl BR600 Magnum. This is the 4-mix leaf blowers. I've got two of them, picked them up real cheap like 3 years ago, and haven't really done any upgrades or modifications or updates to them. They've been running pretty well. It seemed like they had been serviced recently. When I got them, they both ran all right, but it's been a while and I've never gotten into checking these out for repairs. I haven't needed to repair anything until recently. One of the fuel pump, also called the primer bulb, broke, cracked, and was leaking fuel. So I went online and did some research and found some replacement fuel pumps, and I went ahead and grabbed the new air filters, and I also decided to do a valve adjustment. Before I go any further, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment on the video when you get to the end, share the video. If you ever hear of anybody that needs help with their BR600 leaf blower, this video might help. But I'm going to just give you a quick tour of what we're working on, and then some of it's not really necessary to show a step-by-step, but I think the valve adjustment will probably end up needing to be its own video, so I'll split that off separate. So I'll go ahead and show you what we're looking at on this leaf blower. So here are the parts that we've pulled so far. This is the side cover, this orange cover here. There's two T25 Torx screws there's one on the top, one on the bottom. This is the cover that's in the center, of course, the pull string that's in the center. 3 T25 Torx screws. As you can see, I just put the Torx screws back in their location so that I don't get them mixed up in case they're not all fit in the same spot. Now, that big cover that's on the back, you can't take it off until you take this front, the pull cable assembly. You can't take that cover off until you take this off. So I took this off first, took that off, and then took that cover off. 4 Torx screws, also T25. One of the things that I went ahead and replaced while I was working on this is these rubber stoppers. The bottoms of all of them had completely broken off, and so I replaced the bumper so this works between where the cover is and where the handle and everything's bolted to the motor. And the bottom, as you can see, this moves, and those rubber bumpers sit on these posts here, and the rubber just isolates the friction from the bottom. See the backpack, this part where I'm holding on the handle, this is the handle up top, so this is what your back is strapped to, and that's the bottom that's moving. So the engine is isolated, and you don't want all that engine vibration going into your back, so that's what those rubber bumps are for. On the inside, it's actually it's springs, so the springs help on the inside. But that air cover with the 2 screws came from over here. The center cover is in this area where the 3 screws are on it, and those 3 screws go through the bigger orange cover that's over the top. You need to take the rubber boot off the spark plug to get that big orange cover off. And then I've already popped out the fuel pump, aka primer bulb. I've got a replacement. It was actually cheaper to order 2 packs or 4 packs of these instead of just individually, but that's a direct fit replacement. And then all you have to do when you take this off is just keep the gas lines in their location. There's kind of a top and a bottom, so I just kind of keep them in their location. And then this only fits one way. There's a little tab right here at the top. That little tab that's built into the plastic has to fit into that indentation here, so that's why that's there. So we're gonna put this fuel pump in. Like I said before, I've got this. This is the valve cover is actually pulled off, and I'm going to make the adjustment on the valves. Now, what I need to do is I'm going to take the spark plug out, and then I'm going to put the screwdriver down in the hole where the spark plug is. So the top of the spark plug, the end of the screwdriver is actually going to sit on the top of the piston. and then all I have to do is this rotates the piston on the inside. It turns the piston rod and rotates the piston. So all I have to do is watch the end of the screwdriver, and when the piston rotates up and down, the screwdriver is going to move up and down with it. And when it gets to the very top, so it's just at the apex, you get back to the apex where it's at the very top, and that's top dead center. So we're going to set top dead center, and then there are lock nuts on the tops here that we need to undo. We have to undo these lock nuts, and that's what we're using to tighten down. We need to tighten down the tops of these. I don't know, that's not a rocker. What is that? The taps at the top of the valve we need to adjust. So I'll get some more info, but like I said, I think that's going to be on a separate video. I've got the replacement air filter. So the replacement air filter is just going to go right here where the old one was. The old one's just kind of dirty and old, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace it. And then mentioning that valve cover, or the adjustment for the valves, this old cork valve cover gasket, it does have a spot right here on the front where it's been leaking. So a kit that I bought actually has the new valve cover gasket. It has a new copper washer that goes on the top of the valve cover when you screw that back in, and then it actually has the shim, the feeler gauge. It has the feeler gauge, and I have feeler gauges and I've used them for making valve adjustments on motorcycles before, but the problem with this is the feeler gauge actually has to go in between those two little arms on either side to go on the top. And so what they did is they filed down a feeler gauge to where this tip of the feeler gauge can go inside there for me to get the correct gap. It says, I think it says 10 on here, and I'm pretty sure these are supposed to be like 0.1, so I guess 10, if that's 10 millimeter. No, I don't know what that is. 10, maybe that's just a number for the gauge and it represents the right thickness, but these are supposed to be like 0.1, I think 0.1 millimeter or something. I'll post the information in the video if I'm screwing it up, but anyhow, that's what we're currently working on. So the primer bulb will be pretty easy to get back together. The air filter will be easy to get back on. The spark plug will be easy to get out. I'll probably clean it, use some carbon choke cleaner and clean the spark plug up real good, and use a wire brush on it and get it clean. Pretty much been spraying and kind of cleaning around. I think there might be a little bit of a leak at this gasket right here. This is the engine pan underneath here. That's what this is up underneath here. It's got Torx. I think it's Torx. Let's take a look because I haven't actually checked. Simple way to check a bolt if you can't see it. So that looks like an Allen head. So I think, unless I'm wrong, I think these are Allen head. Could be Torx. Yeah, looks like Torx. So they're Torx. They just use Torx on everything. But I'm not going to pull the whole motor off. But that's actually not a gasket in between here. Sorry for the camera work. That's not a gasket. It's actually like a Permatex gasket maker. There's not a gasket like the cork gaskets that's on the valve cover here. But that might be leaking, or it could be the seal, the actual seal that's behind here, behind the flywheel here. So that could be what that is, that's leaking. I cleaned it up good, so now I can pull the cover off at another time. I actually forgot to mention that there is another cover. This cover sits over here, and this cover sits on here, and you can see where it screws in right there. But this cover just needs to be unscrewed. There's another screw down at the bottom here, and it can come right over the top. It's kind of got a little bit of the way it's cut out here, this pattern here. It can actually go over the top of the connectors that go to the magneto. You know, this is pretty much like a stator and this is the rotor, but these two, you don't have to undo these to take this cover off. Just wanted to mention that real quick because I forgot about that. This is actually the old, there's the old primer bulb, and somewhere on here it has a crack in it. There's a crack in it and the fuel's getting out, so it's a toast. But anyway, just wanted to give a quick overview of kind of updating some things on here. If you run into some issues, some things you might need to look for. And like I said, I think I'm just going to set this job doing the valve cover. The valve adjustment, I'm going to set that as a different job and probably look into some torque specs and stuff like that for putting it back together. But thanks for taking the time to watch. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, post it in the comment section. I'll have all the information about the parts that I ordered off. I think in every part I ordered, I think I got off eBay, so I'll post links to the parts that I ordered. So if you're looking for them, you can find them. Again, this is the BR600, and that's all I've got for now. So I'll see you again next time. Subscribe. Talk to you later.